So my name is Steli Efti. A little bit about my background. Greek by origin, born and raised in Germany in a factory worker, immigrant family. And when I was 17, 18, I dropped out of high school to start my first business. I've been a serial entrepreneur ever since. Another way of saying that is I'm totally unemployable. I have zero credentials. I could never get a job. Like nobody of you would ever hire me. What I would like to accomplish today is help you guys that have ideas and dreams and start new ventures and new technologies, turn these new ventures and technologies and companies into reality. And the vehicle to accomplish that is going to be the hustle. And we're going to talk about that. And hopefully I'm going to give you everything you need to get there much faster. Nothing in the universe happens until something moves. And today we're going to talk about moving faster and accomplishing these things a lot faster. Quick background, my company Elastic Sales has helped over 100 venture-backed technology companies in Silicon Valley scale their sales rapidly. And in the process, we learned a lot about sales, we learned a lot about selling technology, selling new ventures, and we built our own piece of technology called Close.io that helps people make more deals and close more sales at the end of the day. All right, as you already heard, there are three people that add value in a startup, in a new venture. Either you know how to design a product, you know how to build a product, or you know how to sell a product. Let's look at the core 7 things you're looking when you're looking to hire somebody to do sales for you, or when you're looking to yourself, like what are the traits that I need to have to actually accomplish that? Some basics, okay? First of all, that's not going to surprise you guys. You need to have a strong focus on results. You need to be a result-driven individual. All that matters today is what did I accomplish? How did I move things forward? What have I been able to accomplish for my organization? What deals did I close? What money did I raise? What awareness did I raise through PR or other means? You need to have a little bit of shamelessness. And that might have some negative connotation, especially in Europe. But what I mean by shamelessness is you need to feel comfortable asking for things that other people don't feel comfortable for. Right, and comfortable in. If you look at the sphere in which you that is within your comfort zone, anything that's worth accomplishing is outside that comfort zone. And the further you go outside your comfort zone, the less competition there is because people are simply not comfortable asking these questions. So if you ask people for favors, ask questions, go for deals, and be a little bit shameless, you're going to accomplish things that other people are just afraid to try. You need to have a strong follow-through and follow-up, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And you need to be able to have a high tolerance level for pain. Because if you hustle, if you sell, if you pitch, if you try to drive your startup and venture and idea forward, you're going to be rejected a lot. And being rejected sucks, right, for anyone. So you have to have the emotional stability to be able to deal with rejection, with no's, with people telling you, your idea sucks, will not work, we don't want to buy, no thank you, I don't have time, don't like your shoes. You're going to have to deal with it every single day and still wake up with the energy, drive, and the inner happiness to be able to move on, right? And then obviously, if you do something worth doing, you need to have high values. It can't just be about the money. It needs to be about realizing a dream. Especially this crowd knows what I mean. Nobody's here just purely for the money. People here want to change the world, want to turn their ideas into reality. And then because you're doing this for something new, it's the hardest thing to sell is something that doesn't exist yet or is brand new and not established. So you need to be really resourceful. You need to be able to take something little and leverage it and accomplish a lot with it. And then liking people helps. Trying to understand people helps. When you really care about the people you're interacting with, it helps a lot. All right, so now that we've established the basics, let's talk about the first thing you need to do, which is create a minimal viable pitch. And I would argue it comes before the minimal viable product in many cases. There's 2 things that I'm going to share here. Very quickly, a list. What is the structure that you need to follow to create an effective minimal viable pitch for your idea or your business? And then secondly, I'm going to show you the pitch we created for Elastic Sales 60 minutes after we had the idea. That pitch got us 7 paying customers within 14 days. And I'll share you the exact word for word what we told people and how we closed them before having any business or anything else really established. All right? So let's first go through the structure real quick. So many people, especially if you do something, if you're pioneering a field, what you want to talk about is the future, the vision, how you're going to change the world. The problem is that if you do that as step number 1, while you're pitching me how your paradigm shifting, a complete new innovation in whatever field you're in is going to change the world, I'm trying to figure out what are you talking about? What is it that I have to imagine? So a lot of people jumping a step ahead. Step number one, when you create a minimal viable pitch, is you need to tell me what you do in a simple sentence that I can comprehend and compute. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but it's effective, right? So you tell me if, in the case of Elastic Sales, our idea was to have a sales team on demand for technology companies. So when I would talk to people, I wouldn't say, what we're trying to do is a paradigm shift in the way distribution happens for new innovative technology companies through the driving means of revenue generation and growth hacking. Like, okay, cool, but what does that mean? Like, while I'm talking, the listener is trying to figure out what am I talking about, and lose their attention. So first, you say it in as simple terms as you can. What do you do? There's no sexiness allowed in that sentence. Just simple layman terms. What do you do? Then you describe and demonstrate how that thing that you do would create value in the world, or value to a potential customer. Once you've done that, you know what the other person thinks? The potential customer thinks, well, yeah, you tell me that this is what you do, and you tell me this is the value I'm going to get, but why should I believe you? Are you really actually going to be able to deliver on these promises? So now you have to establish some minimal level of credibility, right? And that's really tough in the early days because you're not already a conglomerate. You're not already a massive brand. So how do you create a little bit of credibility? Well, you use whatever you have, right? So if you have one customer, that's it. That's your credibility. You say, what we do is we offer a sales team on demand for technology companies. It's going to allow you to both explore all different paths to sales much quicker and also scale your revenue path much faster. And here's company XYZ that's been using us for the last 2 months or last 2 weeks, or it's decided today to go with us, and here's why they're going to succeed with us. Just utilize a customer or an investor of yours. If you don't have customers, just tell people about your investors. If you don't have that, tell them about your mom or somebody that has some credibility in your life that you can associate yourself with. Tell them about the school you went with, the street you live in, whatever it is, right? Something that associates you with something credible, so that it rubs off on you a little bit. And then you need to understand your potential customer. You need to spend some time asking questions and figuring out, should they really buy my product or my solution? Is this a good fit? Will this really create value? If not, you're wasting their and your time. You create a lot of problems afterwards. And then you cannot be surprised that people have objections. This is the most surprising thing to me, is when somebody pitches me something and I have objections and they're surprised by that. People will tell you, I don't have the time, we don't have the money, it's not the right timing for us, we're looking at a competitor's product, this is not really for us. These things cannot be unexpected. You need to anticipate them, you need to prepare for them so you can manage them. And then the most surprising thing of all, a lot of sales pitches that I get don't end with an ask for close. They're like, okay, so cool, what do you think? I'm like, sounds interesting. Yeah, cool. So I guess I'm going to send you an email, and then we'll see what happens. No, just ask me for the close. Say, do you want to buy? It's not that hard. Most people don't do it. Just ask for the close. Tell me, give me your credit card number. Are you interested? All right, so here's the pitch that we used. We had the idea for Elastic Sales because it was something we needed. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to have my email up. And if you want the slides or anything else, I'm going to send it to you if you ask me nicely. So this pitch we developed within 60 minutes of having the idea. When we had the idea for Elastic Sales, since myself and my co-founders were serial entrepreneurs, we knew that we wanted to, instead of waste time coming up with a name, coming up with a website, doing some market research, we said, you know what, let's not waste any time. We had this idea, what's the fastest way for us to validate if there's a real market? And we said, you know what, let's just write down a little script, and then we're going to create a list of a few hundred startups that have raised over $2, $3, $4 million in venture capital, and that we don't know, people we have no connections with. And then tomorrow we're going to cold call them. And we're going to spend 4 weeks cold calling startups, pitching them with fake names. We didn't want the world to know that we're trying this idea, we're thinking about it. And if we can get one customer after 4 weeks with no credibility, no history, no website, no nothing, then it might be an interesting idea and we might want to pursue it. Right? This script got us 7 customers within 2 weeks. 7 customers. We didn't have that many salespeople in our scalable sales force, right? So we had to limit it and tell people they can only have 1 salesperson to begin with because that's all we had. Right? So here's the core structure. I'm going to go through this really, really quickly because I'm pressed on time. We're going to want to bring a startup on stage and do a little Q&A and a little sales coaching with them if we can. So First thing that we did, when you call somebody, the first thing that you need to do is you need to establish context on who the fuck is this person, right? If somebody calls you that you don't know, while they're talking, you're trying to figure out, who the hell is this person? This is not my mom, not my girlfriend. Who is this? Is this important? What's this all about? During that time where somebody thinks these things, you need to address that. You can't just start pitching. You need to address that, like tell them, here's who I am, and here's why you should give me one more minute of your time. So the way we did it is we would call people and tell them, hey, listen, my name is Steve or whatever, Bob, I'm calling companies in the area to figure out if there might be a potential fit for a beta program that we're running. Now, we used that language really carefully because we were calling startups. In the area applied, we're close location-wise to you. We might be similar to you. Telling them that we're looking for a good fit, not a customer, seemed that we're of their best interest, and this is like still very soft. And telling them that we're doing a beta program means that we spoke their language. They probably had beta programs for their own products. So there was a little bit of rapport going on. So after that sentence, almost everybody was like, okay. They decided not, oh, I love this, but they decided, I'm going to listen to this for 20 more seconds to figure out what it is. The next thing you have to do is now you have to give them what it is. No bullshit, no fluff, just a sentence that tells them, what is this all about? And what we said, what we do is we offer, companies with a sales team on demand. Does that sound in general interesting to you? The secret to that question was it didn't matter what people said. If they said, yes, I would say, awesome, so tell me about your sales process. When they said, maybe, I'd said, interesting, tell me about your sales process. And when they said no, I said, wow, tell me about your sales process. Right? It really didn't matter what they said. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not that I didn't care. It's just I didn't care yet in the conversation because they had not enough information and I didn't have enough information to decide if this is a waste of time or a good investment. So it's not the right time to make a decision. But the person on the phone still was thinking about it, still was thinking either if they thought no and I didn't allow them to verbalize that, while I continued talking, they were thinking, oh, how can I get off this call? How can I get off this call? Wouldn't have their attention. So after doing that, we'd go through a couple of qualifying questions, trying to figure out, is this actually a really good fit? And then do a little test close and move on. And I have a blog post and lots of stuff that explains this in even more detail. All right, so now we have a minimal viable pitch. Now we know what a hustler needs to do. We have a minimal viable pitch. We have the energy. Now we need to get the first customers. The toughest customers to get are the first few customers that you're going to get, right? So where do you start? You start with low-hanging fruit, right? You go after family, friends, your investors' portfolio companies, your neighbors, people that you went to school with, anybody that you have some kind of a connection, you start there, wherever it's easiest, because you need that easy entry at the beginning. Now, here's the single biggest mistake a lot of startups and a lot of new ventures do. When they start a new idea, they don't charge for it. I talk to people all day long, and they tell me, yeah, we have this cool new idea, and we just launched our product, and we have a few users. And I say, how many customers do you have? Well, technically, they are not paying us yet, but they have strong buying intent in their eyes. I can see it. No, that doesn't count. Is money in the bank? Do people actually pay you and reward you and show you that they value what you do with money? And there is never a time too early to charge for your product. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. Now, you might be thinking, haha, but what if my product is not even ready? They can't even use it. How could I charge for that? Easily. Here's what you do. After you pitch somebody, you tell them, does it sound interesting to you? Would you like to buy this if this existed? The person says yes. You're like, awesome, high five. Okay, so the product doesn't exist yet, but we're going to launch this product in 3 months. And we already figured out it's going to cost, whatever, $100 a month, $1,000 a month. But for early beta customers, if you put down a deposit today, you're going to get a lifetime discount of, pick a number, 50%, 20%, 90% discount lifetime. Doesn't really matter. You're going to get, instead of $100 a month, you're going to get it for $10 a month. All you have to do, put down a deposit of $500 right now. And you know what? To make it risk-free, it's totally refundable. If in 3 months when we launch you decide you don't need it anymore, you get your money back. Cool? Do you want to give me that money? Well, I'm not sure if it's the right timing, the economy. Then it's a bullshit customer. Like, they're not really, really interested in buying. And now, to be fair, out of 10 people that would actually buy, you won't get all 10 to do what I'm just proposing. But you don't need to. Just get out of 10 potential customers that would usually buy, just get 5 of them or 3. But get money for what you do before start building it. going to motivate you. It's going to show you that there's a real market, so you don't waste time. Same thing applies for features. Many big venture-backed startups, I talk to their founders, and they tell me, well, we have this big customer. All they need is these 12 features, and if we develop these 12 features, they're going to pay us this shitload of money. So we're going to spend the next 6 months developing these features. No, get the money right now in order to afford developing the next 6 months those features, right? And then when it comes to pricing, a last note: the pricing sweet spot you're looking for, especially in B2B, is where 20% of your customers say, "What? That is cheap. I'm going to pay. Pricing is no problem." 20% of your customers say, "What? That's horrendously expensive. I would never buy this. This is horrible." And 60% of your customers are like, "Yeah, it's kind of on the pricey side, but I see the value, so I'm going to go for it." That's a sweet spot you're looking for. You're not looking for 100%. Pricing is no issue. You're so cheap. Then you're underpriced, undervalued. All right? So let's talk about a technique real quick that I coined virtual closing. So a lot of founders have the issue that they say they have initial meetings, especially when you do something innovative, new, creative. People will take meetings from you. And people will tell you that they like you and that they like your idea, because we're all like new, innovative people, especially in larger corporations. You're going to get a lot of airtime because while they sit there for an hour listening to your pitch, they're kind of still earning their salary. And it's a cool new pitch, and it's much more interesting than the boring meetings they had beforehand. The problem is that you confuse that interest with real buying intent, right? So lots of founders tell me at the end of the conversation, we had all this great energy, and they were really excited about us, and we kind of don't know what to do next. And we sent them an email, and it's kind of like there's an unclarity. What's going to take it for us to actually make that happen? And they spend a lot of time worrying about it alone at home and not knowing what to do. So here's one of the most effective sales hacks you can use to clarify that. At the end of the presentation, what you tell them is, "Dear potential customer, what will it take for you to become a customer of our product? What are all the steps that it's going to take?" And here's the magic. When they answer you, you continue asking them until you arrive at the virtual close in the future. So when they say, "Well, I need to meet with my team and talk to my boss, and we need to see how we feel about it," you don't just say, "Cool, that sounds great, let me talk to you next week." No, you go, "Cool, how does that usually work? Do you meet once a week? Do you make a simple presentation for us? Do you need any material? When will that meeting in the future happen?" "Well, on the Monday stand-up, we're going to talk about this." Cool, awesome. So let's assume you talk to them and they like what you said. What happens next? Well, next we would want another call so all the stakeholders can come together and ask you questions. Cool, let's assume that call goes well. What usually happens next? Well, next we have to go through legal. Cool. How does it look like? Did you buy something similar like our product in the last 6 to 12 months? Can you tell me how that experience was? What were all the steps? What were all the challenges? Can we do something about them today already? Like, just guide me through that process. Most people will stop at some point asking because they feel uncomfortable, and they will just assume, and then they will be my customer. Don't. Just ask them, "Okay, now we went through legal over the 6 months period. We went through all these hoops. Now you're surely a customer, right?" No, now you have to go through our advisory board, and we have a palm reader, whatever the steps are until they say yes, and then we would buy. And then you high-five them, and now you know exactly what is it going to take. Are there red flags? Shit, I don't want to deal 6 months with legal. This deal's not worth it. It's just like a few $1,000s. We're not going to do it. Or they haven't bought something similar like us in 12 years. How confident am I that we're actually going to get this deal through? You need to go through these things step by step and then really have a roadmap of success and put them in the right mindset. I'm rushing through this a little bit because I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave a few slides out because of running out of time, and it's probably going to be the best slides ever. So you guys are going to miss out, so I'm going to be catching up in your benefit. Oh, here, this slide has nothing to do with the presentation. This is my baby boy. We launched him 15 months ago. He has all the good looks of his mom. Thank you. We're launching our second baby boy in March. We're really excited. And thanks. And I could just not resist bragging about him in front of a huge audience. All right, so let's move on. So now we know what to do to hustle. We have a minimal viable pitch. We know how to get first customers and how to charge them money for it. What do we do next? Most people will assume, well, now 80% of the selling and hustling has been done, right? Obviously, no. 20% of your job has been accomplished. 80% of selling, 80% of actually accomplishing something happens in the follow-up. Right? That's it. That's where you win. That's where winning happens. In the map of like winning, it's the follow-up where it actually occurs. Personally, I have a simple rule when it comes to follow-up. To me, following up is binary. When we interact and we know each other and I send you an email and I ask you for something and you don't reply, I follow up until I get a reply. That's it. That's a simple strategy. And I don't care what the reply is. It can be a yes or a no, but I will not stop following up until I get a reply. Not to a stranger, but if we have interacted, if we had a customer meeting and I follow up and you go silent, which a lot of people do, I will not assume you don't like me or love me or I'm ugly or this is probably you didn't like this part of the pitch of my product. I'm not going to make assumptions. I'm just going to keep following up until I get a yes or a no. You will be amazed. Like we got an investor in our company. We got a warm introduction, so we get a big investor. That investor's best friend is a person whose product all of you have used. Really big guy. He makes an introduction. The guy replies and says, sure, I want to meet. And I send him, okay, can we do next week this time, or what would work for you? Silent. I followed up 48 times. I'm not shitting you. 48 times. Until he replied. And you know what his reply was? Fuck, thanks for the follow-up. I was traveling, we launched this whatever big rocket, and yes, tomorrow can you be at my office? And we got him as an investor. 48 fucking times. Remember Shameless? There's a thread. When it comes to business follow-ups, when somebody signs up a form or something, you don't have a personal relationship, 4 to 6 times is the minimum follow-up you should follow. And this cool thing is, like a week ago, I talked to a really young entrepreneur, first-time startup, and he told me, this follow-up thing has changed my life. I'm doing this and all these shit happens and all these deals close. And I was like, yeah, I appreciate that, but you're probably also really inexperienced. That same day in the afternoon, I go for a meeting with a VC, a guy that sold his company for hundreds of millions, and he's like, you know what? I sneaked into one of your webinars, and that whole thing about the follow-up, it really clicked for me, and I changed the way I do follow-up, and all these great things have happened now. And I was like, really? Awesome. Like, okay. Like, everybody seems to be, suffering from the disease of I don't want to inconvenience you. But that's not what this is about. This is business. It's not about inconveniencing. It's very simple to reply and say, shut the fuck up, leave me alone, right? That's easy, and you can totally respect that. I would never follow up when somebody tells me no. But usually people don't follow up because they get busy. They have their own lives, their own problems. It's not all about you. So just follow up to keep on top of their mind, all right? So now, we're going to rush to this one. So lots of people, when they start, you're just yourself, and you're like, well, I'm just one salesperson. Like, how can I accomplish all these things? Well, you have to turn everybody you know into your sales team, right? Turn your co-founders into your sales team, your investors into your sales team, your customers. And the way to do that is you need to do 2 things. You need to ask anybody you know for introductions to other potential customers and referrals. You need to eliminate all friction. So when you ask for a referral, you don't say, hey, Bob, can you send an email to this guy and spend the next 10 minutes of your life thinking about how to pitch my company to this guy? No, you say, hey, Bob, can I get an intro to this guy? Below is a template that I already wrote for you. You can just copy and paste that and send it to the guy, or change it, or completely write it from scratch. That's your choice. 99% of people who are important, they don't have the time or they care about writing a new pitch for your business. Just make the work frictionless. The other thing is you want to create back channels. Communication back channels, doesn't matter if you do that for investors or customers or PR or anything. So what I mean by that is when you get a referral from a potential customer, let's say, and you meet with that referral, and it's a good first meeting, right? What you want to do is when you get back after that meeting, you want to ask the person who referred you, hey, can you send that guy another email? He already wrote it for you. And the email says, hey, Bob, I heard you met with Steli. I just wanted to check how you felt about the presentation. Steli thought that it was a great match, but he felt that you were really concerned about security. Well, we've been using them for the last 6 months, and they're super secure, and we love them. Create back channels. Make multiple people talk to the person you want to influence and tell them what you want them to think. Use everything you have to your advantage. That's how we got a big portion of our first investment round. There was a big VC company, and they wanted to meet with us. They wanted to do a partner meeting, and they said, well, the earliest partner meeting we have is in 7 weeks, and we wanted to close our round in 3 weeks. So we're like, fuck that doesn't work for us. We want to meet now or never. And they're like, well, sorry, but we can't do anything about it. we went through, well, I'm not going to tell you that, but so there's this other really important person that is an investor in our company. So what we did is I met with him, and we chatted, and then I told him about this VC firm. He's like, oh, I know these guys really well. I'm like, yeah, could you send an email and tell them how awesome we are? And if they miss out on that partner meeting, it's going to be horrible for their lives. They're going to be like hating themselves forever. It's like, sure. I'm like, cool. Can you do it right now? Here's a laptop. Right? I'm already logged out of Gmail. Just log yourself in. It's like, sure, okay. Logs himself in. Okay, look at it. Is it cool, Steli? I'm like, super awesome. Sends it. 30 minutes later, I get an email from the assistant of the partner, like, we reshuffled some things on Monday at 9 a.m. You have a partner meeting, and we're going to make it happen. And they invested. All right, so make everybody that you work and interact with, make them all part of your sales team. Utilize everybody and leverage everybody that you can. All right, so here's my favorite part of the slide. I'm going to tell you some really cool stories here. So now we know what it's all about to be a hustler. We have a minimal viable pitch. We have the first customers. We figured out to ask them for money, and they paid us some money, right? And we know that follow-up is the way to go. Follow-up is the way to win. That's how we make shit happen. What happens if we have a larger company and they want to negotiate with us? Sometimes they like to do that, right? It sucks, but they do. They want to like fizzle around on little terms and negotiate. Well, I'm not a negotiator. You guys might be like, I'm a technologist. I don't know anything about this. I don't want to study negotiation. I'm not a smooth talker. I'm going to teach you the 2 simple rules to kicking almost everybody's ass in the negotiation phase. Number 1, be willing to walk away. Number 2, learn to shut the fuck up. Right? I'm going to bring that same line in a few minutes. I hope that it's going to click then. So here's what you do. What I mean by be willing to walk away. You need to learn. I know that you're not in a position of power. This is the huge, masterful company, and you're just small and tiny. And you feel small and tiny, and that's the problem, right? So you need to learn to put yourself under the context training of understanding, hey, my business, my new innovation, my startup, whatever you do, we're not going to win or lose because of this one big magical unicorn, right? There's many unicorns out there. There's many things that we can accomplish. So we need to be ready and willing to walk away. We need to know what are our terms, what are we okay with, and what aren't we okay with. An example through Close.io. So Close.io, new sales software, really successful so far. There's this huge company 2 months ago, huge technology company, a great brand name, approaches us. They sign up for our product. They go through everything. They're really interested. Everybody in the company gets excited about it. And then, in the final stages, we get everything cleared out, and we train their team, and everybody's on board, and booyah, and we're all cool and friends. Last second, they start with like, well, we would do this, but we need these 2 little things that really don't take that much time from you, but they're really super crucial, and we could never use your product without these 2 things. I mean, you can't be serious if you don't have these 2 little things. Our reply was, cool, then don't use us. We said, in more words, those are great suggestions. We have them on our roadmap. It's not going to happen in the next 6 to 9 months. If this is a deal breaker, it's too bad. Here's 2 workarounds. Here's how we would do it, accomplishing the same goal with what we have without having these little features. But that doesn't really work for you then, go with God and be successful with something else. They came back to us on that, and we're like, they didn't even reply to that. They just came back with, okay, let's talk about pricing. We really need this massive discount because we're such a huge brand and our logo is going to transform your life, right? So we're like, cool, okay, here's the discount we give to companies we really love, and you are one of them now, so, God bless. This is the discount we give you. It was like a 1/5 of the discount they wanted. And some people in the company got nervous. Like, I'm not going to shit you, we're not that cool. So some in the company were like, oh my God, we're going to destroy this relationship, and they're going to talk bad about us. And our future is fucked, and everything, and our children will never get a job in technology. And this huge thing, right? And we had a big argument once. For an hour, we go back and forth, and then there was a clarifying question. Somebody rose from the team and was an engineer, and was like, wait. I think we need to step back and ask ourselves a very fundamental question. Do we really want them as customers? This is really crucial. And the 2 people that are arguing the most, in unison, one said yes and the other no. They're like, yeah, yes, no, right? And in that moment, it was clear that, okay, first we should talk about do we really want them or not before we argue about the discounts and the future of our children. So, we argued it out and decided, no, we don't give a shit. And then we sent them an email and said, that's the discount we can do, and we love you. And surely, as we grow together and you take over the world and all your employees actually use the software, I'm sure that at that point, our relationship is going to be so deep that we're going to find new ways to benefit both sides and figure out what the values we create for you and what you should get in return back. Right? So that's some bullshit email that was basically no. In a really nice way, no, we're not doing it, yeah? And you know what their reply was? They were silent for 5 days, and then their credit card got processed into our system, and they, bought a shit ton of seeds, and we never talked about this again. It was like, it's magical. We just said no, and then they just decided, all right, shit, let's just buy it anyways. I don't want to say that that would always work like that. It doesn't, right? I'm just giving you the good examples. The other thing is shutting the fuck up. That's the most powerful negotiation tactic ever. It's also the most difficult to do. All of you think, how hard could it be to be silent? Very, 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 very fucking hard, right? So one of the most powerful techniques when you interact with somebody is to just be silent. And what that's going to do is going to create the urge out of social awkwardness for the other person to continue talking. And the awesome thing is because they didn't premeditate that they would just feel like they need to keep talking, what they're going to be saying is going to be very close to what they're thinking. They're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that, right? All you have to do when they do that is keep shutting the fuck up. And see what happens. Sometimes you're going to get really surprised. I'm going to give you a quick example. I need to really rush here. But here's an example of shutting the fuck up saved my company $225,000. I'm not even kidding you. It's not even a made-up number, right? So here's what happened. We had originally, the founding team of Elasticsearch and Closeout was doing something completely different. For that different thing, we had to buy somebody else's technology, and we made a contract, a 3-year contract, where we would pay them a shit ton of money. But because we're smart, we thought so, and we're startup people, we made it so the first year of the contract, we paid them almost nothing. And then the second year, a little bit more, and the third year, we paid them a crazy amount of money. The assumption being, if we're not successful in year 3, we're probably done, so it doesn't really matter. So here we are, we changed completely what we do. We don't need that technology, and keep paying them will kill us. Right? So what did we do? We did some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier, made all our fucking investors, everybody we knew work in the background for us, sending emails to board members of that company, calling them, demonstrating in front of the building, whatever we could do, kind of influence the people there. Hey, these people are important and you better, this is a small startup, be nice to them or bad things will happen. So, eventually we got through a really important guy, a board member of that company. That guy emailed the really tiny, account exec that was responsible for a thing, and I felt bad for him. Sometimes it's hard, right? You have to make choices, and it was a shitty day for him, but it saved our company. That's like an equation that I'm okay with. So this guy, obviously an account rep, he has all this money, somewhere he had a commission for that, or somewhere it was part of his quota, and he felt good about it. So taking that away sucks, right? But we cannot pay $225,000 because we're gonna die if we do that for something we're not using anymore. So here's what we did. After the board member sent the guy an email, the guy called me. All the time before that, when I would communicate with him, the guy would be like, no, sorry, we can't do anything. Finance tells me we can't do anything. I would love to help you, but finance, the bad guys at finance are really evil, but they're saying, fuck you. Right? Fuck you, pay me. We don't care. So after you get the email from the board member, he calls me. Right? I pick up the phone, and he's like, hey, Steli, blah, blah, blah. This is John from blah. And yeah, is this a good time? Let's chat. Yeah, cool, let's chat. So, and I knew that he got that email, so I was kind of prepared for that call. So he's like, okay, so here's the deal. I told you that, you would have to pay the full amount, and I think that I really want to help you, and blah, 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 and I work with finance bullshit, and what I want to do is I want to offer you this deal when instead of 250,000 was the full amount, 250,000, you're just going to have to pay 100,000, and we're all squared fair, and life is good. Well, and Steli, it's really important for us that relationship stays healthy and blah blah blah, and we're really doing the best we can, and I would talk to my priest and everybody I know, and this is really the best offer I can give in good consciousness, and blah 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 blah. One thing we could do is. This was November, a call in November. It's like, one thing we could do is, if you could postpone canceling the contract till January next year, we could probably give you a much better deal, maybe something between 20 and 50,000 instead of 100,000. And I'm like, January, 20,000 sounds good to me. And he's like, okay, well then I'm going to send you the information and blah, blah, blah. I'm so happy that our relationship is still good and I love you guys, blah, 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 blah. Cool. I hung up and I was like, oh, that turned out much better than I expected. We were actually thinking we'd have to pay 100,000, so we threw a small party at that. Like, holy shit, we only paid $20,000, right? All I did is I was just shutting the fuck up, be silent, and let it play out in front of me. And it turned out, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to turn out much better than you want. You're going to be, holy shit, this is surprising. It's much better than I thought it would be. Just learn to be silent. If you don't know anything about negotiations, learn to be willing to walk away. It's not the end of life if this deal doesn't happen. Move on and learn to be silent. Just look at the other person. If it's in person, just raise your eyebrows. It's signaling you should keep talking, and then the other person will start talking. All right, so if you want more information, go to close.io/free sales course. There's 9 emails with a lot more detail about the stuff I just talked to you about. And I just recently published an article on VentureBeat on why you should give your customers and everybody that you know free office hours about the market you're in. You can read that article if you want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing next, which is we're going to bring a startup on stage in the last 8 minutes, and we're going to do a quick sales office hour. Right? So this is not just all theory and cool stories. Let's see if we can actually help somebody sell more, move faster, and succeed with a business a lot faster. So give it up to that startup right now. Encourage them to come on stage. I hope. There you go. Man, high five. We're so nervous you would not show up. So should he sit there? Can he stand? What are we doing? Because somebody put a chair there. I'll just stand. No, let's just stand. I'm standing. It's awkward for him to sit. It's fine. All right, so let's just lean back and be really relaxed about this, like this, or something. Never mind. So
can I have a drink or?
Yeah, afterwards. So Alessandro, give the audience a one sentence. What do you do? Like, what is it really unsexy? What do you do? What's your startup?
It's a web application to manage fleets of vehicles or on-the-road teams for transport and field services.
So an app that allows me to manage my vehicles and stuff when I'm like a transportation company.
Or manufacturing. Logistics. Yeah, you have to distribute or picking up things or doing maintenance.
What's the name?
Routis.com.
Woo! Okay. So now, what's the current status in terms of customers? Do you guys have paying customers? Have you revenue? Give us a little bit of like a context of here we are with what you're, what you're comfortable sharing with your small, intimate group of peers.
Okay, fine. Well, we started a couple of years ago doing consultancy in this field, and we went online a few weeks ago with the website. So we're changing our business model. And in a few weeks, we have our first users. Okay. And so we're having fun with that and building new features and working on the
Are you charging them? Are you going to be charging them?
Not right now.
You go?
Well, I mean, because they are using the free trial.
The free, how long
so we have 15 days more, and then we hope we can start
How long is the total free trial?
15 days.
15 days. Okay, that's a good length. Awesome. So what's one of the big, what is, if we could only accomplish one thing on stage, what is it? What do we want to talk about in terms of sales challenges or questions, challenges, feedback, help? What do you need?
Probably the worst part of the sales process is the first cold call.
Okay.
I mean, of course, if you have your network, you start with friends and things, okay, but the cold call.
Okay. So are you sure you need to be doing cold calls?
Well, in the consultancy, yes. Okay. With the website, probably web marketing is more appropriate, but cold calls can be...
But with the kind of customers you go after, they're probably not all day long on Facebook and Google searching for solutions to something they don't probably are thinking about. Like, you're making their lives better with something they haven't thought about before, like using technology to do a better job, right? Okay, so what exactly sucks about the first cold call?
It's not easy to find the right people to talk with.
Okay.
To speak with.
Okay. So you have a company, and then you're thinking, who in that company is the right guy to call? And you're probably calling the secretary and asking her nicely to route you to the right person.
Yeah, you have the number of the front office, and you start from there.
Okay. So do you have any users yet that are really loving your product?
Yes. We have people using it and saying, yeah, this is cool. Do you have this feature? Yes, we have it. Use it like this. And
Okay, so people that are more engaged.
yes.
Did you ever ask them if they would pay for your product once you start charging?
Not right now.
Start with that, right?
Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to separate the people that are well-meaning from the people that are real customers, potential customers. So be like, cool, you really like this is awesome. So you're going to buy it, right? I'm going to give you a discount. And then if they say, well, maybe or not, you know, maybe they're not that interested. And that's not the issue. Like, it's not about converting everybody into a customer. What it's about is to finding out of how many people you talk, find the one person, starts with one, that really wants to buy, and give that person a bigger portion of your attention. Say, okay, if you really want to buy, you're going to get X discount if you buy now, if you prepay or buy now. And you're going to get all our attention. The founders will actually give you, here's a few things that you can do. When you're really small, you can be like, the president, the secretary, and the chief operating officer, as well as the CEO, will give you 100% of their attention. Because that's all you, right?
They happen to us.
There you go, right? And people love that kind of personal care, and like somebody really important in the company will, so you do that. Okay, so you tell them, I'm going to give you all my attention. Okay. And then when you have that, ask them for referrals. I'm not sure if, like at the beginning, low-hanging fruit sales, you want to start getting traction. Cold calling can work. What we did with cold calling startups worked for us, but it's calling startups. And it's an audience that we really know well, and an audience that's open to new ideas, and we were physically close, so it was an easier pitch. If we were to call like logistics companies, if I were to call them, I'm not sure if that would be my first step. So I would first look for just one customer, and then just treat that person like a king, a queen, and then be, who else do you know who needs that royal treatment from me, right, and benefit? And then just go one by one that way at the beginning, and just get, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 4, and just slowly grow, but grow really carefully and spend a lot of time with those customers to really understand them well. Because what a lot of people do when they do lead generation, by the way, is they look at what's our audience, let's say logistics. They create a list of 100 million companies, and they're like cold calling them one by one, just going through the list. And then what happens is you get really unpredictable results. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 1 month is good, the other is bad. And you do the same activity, and it just randomizes your results. The problem is that it's too big of a field. You need to narrow it down a lot more. And the way you do it is that you take your customers, the 1, 2, 3, 4 customers you have, and you look at how big are they? Where do they live? Do they have a Facebook profile? Who are all the employees? What are all the titles of all the employees? What other software do they use? Do they have a Facebook page? You look at everything you can learn about them, and then you just go one tiny step next to it to their nearest competitor. You try to sell to them. And you go to really more vertically fine companies that are really similar and grow that way than just going, everybody who has logistics in their name could be a customer. It's going to be a really hard battle. And then when it comes to getting the right person when you do cold calls, a quick trick is to start with an email first. And what you do is, instead of cold emailing the person you want to sell to, you go 1 or 2 levels above. And you ask for an introduction down. You go, dear CEO, here's the one sentence of how we improve the company. Who's the right person that I can talk with for 10 minutes? Can you introduce me to that person? If you do that email well, you get 10 to 30% response rates. And then the CEO will be like, talk to John. And that doesn't mean John is sold. John still thinks, fuck, why do I have to talk to this person? I don't have time, I don't like it. But he will take the call, right? So it's a lot more effective than just cold calling into the organization all day long. Just go really high up, and usually you can find these people's emails, and just ask them really succinctly for an introduction down in the organization, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Awesome. And then how big are the companies that you're usually cold calling?
What?
How big are the companies that are you calling? Thousands, tens of thousands of employee strong companies or smaller
ones? For the
ones?
consultancy, yes.
Okay.
But now with this new product, we're looking for small and medium-sized companies.
Okay, so have you cold called these?
No.
Okay, so how does it suck?
Well,
have you started doing cold calls yet?
No.
Okay, but you assume it's going to suck.
I mean, in my
He's
experience,
probably right.
it was a hard task, so.
No, you're probably right. If you started to do cold calls, it's going to suck, right? I would still do them, though, just for fun, just to see. Maybe it's much easier than you think, right? I would send emails. At this stage of the phase of the company, don't worry so much about perfect results and closing lots of deals and everything working. Worry more about experimenting and learning what works and doesn't. Send emails, do cold calls, show up in person, whatever it is, do multiple things and just see what happens and doesn't happen. And if 99% of the time you get failure, it doesn't really matter. Like you just need one success, and then you build on that, and you go from 1 to 2. That's a really small step, but it's doubling your success, right? And all you do at the beginning is you make these tiny little steps, and as you grow, you have more credibility, more customers, more resources, more money, and you can make bigger steps. You just grow into that. I hope that's helpful. Awesome, give it up for him. High five. All right, my time is up. If any of you need help with sales, send me an email, steli@close.io. We'll set up a Skype session. I've done hundreds of these. It started really small. I didn't want to do as many as I'm doing now, but it's so much fun, and it's been so important for the business, and all kinds of cool random things are happening when I do these sessions. So send me an email, and I'll try to do my best, and we'll set up a Skype call, and I help you as good as I can. All right, take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Steli.